The Madrid Derby between Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid brought plenty of goals and quite an unexpected result. Today we'll take a closer look at the tactical elements and analyze the key scoring episodes. Let's dive in. In the build-up phase, Real Madrid shaped up in a 4-4-2 structure with a square in midfield, giving four players the chance to combine comfortably. Tactically, they had an advantage in the center, but during the build-up, Real often relied either on long passes or on progressing through the flanks, without really making use of this central superiority. Very often the first pass went wide, where the left center-back, Dean Huyson, would shift over. Several options dropped deeper to support him, but frequently the pass was played forward, and not always accurately, as in this particular episode. As the game went on, Aurélien Tchouaméni operated alone in the holding midfield role. One player was enough for the build-up stage, but the issue was that Real barely used him at all in this phase. Again, their way out was through the flank. This time left back played a ball toward Vinicius, who dropped deeper, linked up with Jude Bellingham in central areas, and that's how Real attempted to progress from defense into attack. When pressing, Real also stayed in a 4-4-2 shape. Dani Carvajal pushed higher into the second line, joining the midfield four, and was responsible for the right flank in the high press against Atletico's build-up from the goalkeeper. But Real's problems were very clear in positional attacks. Already by the 8th minute, we could see their familiar issue with Vinicius and Kylian Mbappé in the starting 11. Both occupy the same area, the left attacking flank, leaving Real with nobody in the finishing zones. You might beat your man on the wing, but then there's no one to pass to inside the box, forcing you to keep driving forward and try to solve the episode individually. This problem has been around since Carlo Ancelotti's time and still hasn't been solved. On the 10th minute, the same issue appeared again, Mbappé and Vinicius in the same vertical lane on the left. At least a bit later, Bellingham began drifting closer to a striker's role, trying to compensate by attacking the spaces near Atletico's penalty area, but even then, it didn't really work effectively. In terms of overall structure, Real Madrid lined up in a 4-2-3-1. Arda Güler mostly played as the right winger, while Mbappé, as usual, acted as a false nine, moving freely into different zones. In one episode, he received the ball between the lines in the right half space, combined quickly with teammates, broke Atletico's five-man defensive line, and made a deep run. Güler then played a brilliant through pass that sent Mbappé almost one-on-one, and he finished clinically. That goal leveled the score at 1-1. Defensively, Real often dropped into a five-man backline, looking more like a 5-3-2. An interesting role here was given to Tchouaméni. In defense, he dropped into the backline, making it a back five, mainly to handle Atletico's tall striker Alexander Sørloth. Tchouaméni followed him tightly in man-to-man duels, and physically he matched up well. When Real sat in a medium to low block, they kept the back five. But when they pressed higher, Tchouaméni stepped up into midfield, leaving only four defenders. That created openings like in the 3rd minute, when Sørloth attacked the depth and Eder Militão struggled to track him. Sørloth nearly scored then, but hesitated slightly, and Militão recovered at the last second to clear. A good example came in the 13th minute. We can see Sørloth, and the game went closer to Real's side. Tchouaméni immediately followed him man-to-man, which again transformed the back four into a back five. That's how Real's defensive adjustment worked. But despite this, Real conceded a fairly quick goal in the 14th minute. It all started with a set piece from Atletico Madrid. The ball was then played toward the far post, where an Atletico player won the aerial duel against Real Madrid's left back. However, the clearance was poor, and the ball fell straight to another Atletico player. Notice here that even Vinicius tracked back and finished the defensive run, closing the distance. The Atletico player was forced to cross under pressure, so there are no real complaints about Vinicius in this moment. The focus then shifts to Aurélien Tchouaméni. Watch closely. He had a direct opponent inside the box. The opponent pulled him slightly, disrupting his stride and preventing him from gaining momentum to jump. It wasn't a foul, but that minor contact disrupted his stride and made him less competitive in the duel. As a result, an Atletico player got to the ball first, and in the 11th minute, Alexander Sørloth was left completely unmarked. The pass came his way, but luckily for Real, the quality of the delivery was poor. Sørloth barely managed to reach it for a shot. In truth, Real's players were creating problems for themselves with basic mistakes. On one occasion, Real Madrid's left-back Carreras received the ball. For a real player, that should mean receiving it calmly, without immediate pressure, with plenty of time to decide. At the very least, he could have played it back. Instead, Carreras hesitated on the ball, lost possession, and once again, Sørloth had the chance to go one-on-one with the goalkeeper. But again, the pass into him was slightly off-tempo, and he couldn't get there first. Speaking of Real's favorite duo, Vinicius and Mbappé, one sequence really stood out. For about 2 minutes, Vinicius just stood centrally, walking around in the striker's zone, doing nothing. In the 32nd minute, he didn't make a single run in behind or between the lines. It looked terrible. Honestly, you could fall asleep watching those 2 minutes. Thankfully, Mbappé at least attacked the depth, making some kind of movement to stir things up. Otherwise, Real simply circulated the ball from left to right without any penetration, while Vinicius stayed static. Overall, Real didn't create many dangerous attacks. And then, at the end of the first half, things went wrong again. After a throw-in, an Atletico player calmly received the ball. The situation in the box was actually 4-3 in Real's favor. Nothing seemed threatening. But after a simple cross, Huijsen misjudged the trajectory, failed to get up for the header, and Atletico scored their third goal at the end of the first half. But Real also scored in the first half, and the teams went into the break at 2-2. After a long clearance, an Atletico Madrid player misread the situation and headed the ball into a completely empty zone. No teammates around. That zone is highlighted here in red. Had he judged it correctly, he could have headed back toward his own goal or simply cleared it out of play. Instead, Kylian Mbappé picked up the loose ball in midfield and passed to Vinicius on the wing, who beat 2 defenders. Here's the key detail. Jude Bellingham joined the attack with perfect timing, sprinting into the box. He drew the attention of both Atletico center backs, who marked him tightly near the 6-yard box. That movement created space in the second line, where Arda Güler arrived unmarked and finished brilliantly with a one-touch strike to score. The second half began with some adjustments from Real, especially in defense. They shifted to a back four, but it didn't look solid at all. You can see how much Real feared Alexander Sørloth. Huijsen dropped the line far too deep, giving unnecessary space. He wasn't even trying to hold a high line and play offside. If this were Barcelona, Huijsen would already be dropped from the 11. His hesitation broke the defensive line's shape. At the same time, Real's first pressing line looked passive. Atletico's player carried the ball forward, while 2 Real players just watched without stepping in. The backline was disjointed again because Huijsen tried to step out proactively toward an Atletico forward. That left 2 different gaps to exploit, one in the center, another in the half space. On the 49th minute, Atletico almost went one-on-one with the keeper from this breakdown. But Atletico's next goal didn't come from clever buildup. It was simpler. A cross came into the box, and Güler actually got to the ball first, but while clearing, he caught an Atletico player in the head with his boot. The referee gave a yellow card and a penalty against Real. It was a very debatable decision. Yes, Güler touched the ball first, and the contact with the opponent's head came after, by momentum. Was it the right call, or did Real get robbed? Share your thoughts. Personally, I'd lean toward no penalty, but I'm not the referee. Atletico converted, making it 3-2. Real tried to respond but couldn't create much. On the 57th minute, Mbappé drifted to the right wing, received the ball, and drew attention. Dani Carvajal, instead of making an overlapping run to support, just stood behind Mbappé, admiring the number 10 on his shirt. The correct decision would have been to overlap and attack the space, but Carvajal did nothing. Within 2 minutes, he was subbed off. Rightly so, because Real lost the ball on that flank. Atletico broke in transition, and only a foul from a Real player stopped it. Atletico's 4th goal was pure individual brilliance, a stunning free kick in the 63rd minute. From that point, Real created almost nothing until stoppage time. But in the 93rd minute, Federico Valverde made a terrible mistake. He tried to slice a pass with the outside of his boot, lost the ball, and Atletico countered quickly. Antoine Griezmann finished the move clinically, 5-2, a total humiliation for Real Madrid. This match once again highlighted how serious Real Madrid's defensive problems are. Yes, many of their center backs are currently injured, but there is absolutely no reliability at the back. They don't look like a team capable of fighting for a Champions League final. Even in the players' movements, you can see that the mechanisms within the team aren't polished yet. There's a lack of understanding, and right now Real relies more on individual brilliance than on clear tactical structures. That said, I do like one thing. Xabi Alonso is clearly trying to change Real's style. He experiments with hybrid shapes, starting with a 4-4-2 and at times shifting into a 5-3-2 during different phases of play. That's interesting and promising, but there's still plenty of work ahead. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What do you think Real Madrid needs to change? And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more football tactical analysis.